I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Boroughs comply with the notes and provisions of the Sunshine Act by adopting prior to January 10th of this year a resolution prescribing the dates, times, and locations of all regular meetings of the commission. This meeting is one of the meetings listed in such resolution, and copies of the resolution were prior to January 10th filed with the borough clerk.
Need a motion to file minutes?
Move.
Second. And a motion to file upon report. CFO, yes, report, treasurer, and zoning.
Make a motion?
I'm sorry, I did have a task collection report also.
Okay, that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start off, we have a recognition to make a couple officers, an officer from here and from Penn Township. And I think, for those of you that were here last month, we recognized the Collingswood swim team for their undefeated season, first time ever. And I think a couple of our officers were a little jealous about that. So we're gonna recognize tonight Officer William Moore from the Township Police Department and Officer Kenny Jacoby from Collingswood. So if you two gentlemen would come up, please. So I'm going to let the chief go through this is an official commendation, but these officers took over a situation that that was not good. It could have been much worse, and did a great job. So I'm going to allow the chief, because he can't remember all the facts.
So on Sunday, September 1st, around 8:42 at night, officers were dispatched to Cooper River for a report of someone screaming in the water for help. On the officers' arrival, they were able to finally locate the male about 150 feet out into the Cooper River with his kayak, which had capsized. While they were waiting for fire personnel to respond with the boat, they noticed the individual going to the water on 2 different occasions. It took quite some time to come up. At that point, Officer Jacoby and Officer Moore looked at each other and determined that they were going to have to go into the water to save the gentleman's life. At that point, they got some rope. Officer Jacoby tied the rope around his waist. Officer Moore tied the rope around his waist as well. Officer Jacoby swam out to the individual and was able to help him get back to shore with Officer Moore pulling him in. I'm honored to commend you guys for your courageous actions that night. I'm certain if it were not for your quick actions and your thinking and you putting someone else's life ahead of yours, the outcome would be much, much different. So I'm honored to commend you for your life-saving efforts that evening.
So you guys want to say anything?
Not a whole lot to say. Not a whole lot to say.
It was, no, we great. Listen, over the last 5-6 years, we've had a few water rescues, way too many than we should. And between fire and police, we've done a great job. We were talking about this, that there was a rescue done in the middle of the winter with a car that had gone in. We had another car going in June, so we've had a lot of great success at this. We hope we don't get any more practice at this. We urge you all to please have your life protectors on, your vest on, take steps that make sense, and don't go out just for a leisurely little kayak, just as a little quick run around the Cooper because things can happen. So, gentlemen, congratulations. So why don't we jump down and do the first resolution? Okay.
A resolution appointing Dennis Jacoby as police sergeant for the borough of Collingswood.
gonna make it captain of the swim team. So Ken, this is your night, come on up. So for this, yeah, bring up over to the mic.
My wife and my mom, please.
Come on up. So, there's not many people in Collingswood that don't know Officer Jacoby. Everybody, and I mean that in a good way. You're smiling, I mean that in a good way. I mean it in a good way. There's sometimes that's not always a good thing. But he's made his mark through being special, working the downtown, with traffic, through being an officer now, taking control of things, really being what Kenny Jacoby is everywhere. Something has to get done, he's out there taking care of it, just like what we talked about with this water incident. He's been a great asset for our downtown. We're happy to make him a sergeant today. So, for this, and just start around, so put your left hand on, raise your right, okay? And I state your name.
I, Kenneth Jacoby,
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and I will bear faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
as police sergeant for the Borough of Collinsville,
as police sergeant for the Borough of Collinsville,
according to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations. This is your chance. Put the tail in the way you want to. Okay, for everyone here for our welcome to stay, but you are also free to leave. If you would just, we're going to keep going on with the meeting, if you just be quiet, try to get out quietly, we appreciate that. Okay. Ordinance,
Second reading, public hearing, ordinance 1667, prohibiting smoking on public property.
Okay, this is the public hearing on ordinance 1667. Anyone here to present anything before the commission? Yes, just give your name and address for the record, please.
Well, I'm here as a Camden County employee. My name's Lynn Rosner. I live in 109 Greenville Road, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I just want to support and congratulate the fact that Collingswood is prohibiting smoking on public property in the borough of Collingswood. I also want to give congratulations to Tobacco Free for Healthy New Jersey and the Aurors who would be here today, who, through their agency, is going to be supplying tobacco-free signs as soon as this ordinance goes through. So congratulations again on supporting health and wellness in your community and changing the landscape for children to come.
Lynn, thanks for coming out, thank you.
And it is smoking cessation month, right? Or I think this is like National Smoking Cessation Month. I don't know what exactly it's called, right? But
Everyone's National
It should
Smoking
be.
Cessation Month.
fair enough. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay,
Mayor Maley?
yes.
Commissioner Leonard? Yes. Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes.
And with the second reading of public hearing of ordinance 1668, regulating outdoor lighting.
This is the public hearing on this ordinance. Anyone like to bring anything before the commission? This is your opportunity to do so. Anybody? Okay, all right, Paul?
Mayor Maley?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes.
We have the second reading and public hearing of ordinance 1669, ban on single-use plastic bags.
This is the public hearing on this ordinance. Anyone like to bring anything before our attention?
think it's a great thing they
Okay.
do.
Okay, all right, thank you. Al?
Mayor Malek?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes. That's,
And we have the second reading of public hearing of ordinance 1672, creating a green development checklist.
This is the public hearing on this ordinance. Anyone like to bring anything before the commission? This is your opportunity to do so. Anyone? Okay, Al?
Mayor Malek?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
yes.
Okay. We have the reintroduction of ordinance 1671, water conservation.
So this is reintroducing the ordinance on first reading. It makes a really one change, which is it removes the number of days that watering is limited to. It still has a requirement that a smart controller needs to be a part of an irrigation system. Main purpose to help regulate that there's not watering being done during rain events. So this will be reintroduced and advertised. It'll be heard at our meeting on November 4th. Okay, Al?
Mayor Malek?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes.
And then we have the reintroduction of ordinance 1670, amending chapter 263, short-term rental.
So this is the commonly referred to as the Airbnb ordinance. We've made a couple changes to it, nothing that is a major substantive change. Joe, could you just go through with us what those changes are?
Yes, Mayor, the one change is that the short-term rental owner is limited to one rental at a time. So if you have more than one room, for example, and you wanted to rent 2 or 3 rooms to other people that aren't coming with the same group, then you would be limited to only one rental. The other requirement was the addition, and I think this had been an inadvertent omission at the last on the submission. There is a parking requirement. The owner of the short-term rental unit is required to provide parking to comply with the borough ordinance, as everyone in the borough does. So those are the 2 changes, Mayor, they warrant a reintroduction.
So this will be re-advertised, the introduction of it today, re-advertised, and that will be heard at the November 4 meeting as well. Okay? Hang on, Fiona.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go through, there's public
Yeah.
comment. So we're gonna open up the floor, public comment on resolution agenda items. If anybody wants to speak about the first reading on those ordinances, that's fine too. But this is opening up for a public comment mainly for the items on the agenda. Any questions or comments on the resolutions that are on the agenda? And then at the end of this meeting, we'll have public comment, just whatever you want to talk about. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. We got to vote on it first. Go ahead.
Voting on ordinance 1670. Mayor Malek?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
No.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So Kevin, Fiona, did you want to?
I just wanted to ask Fiona Dawson, 841 Maple Avenue. The updated ordinance is not on the Collinswood.com website for comments. It's the May one that's still up there. It's not your updated one.
Okay.
So the people
we'll-
making comments are going to be looking at something that's.
You got it. We'll make
Yeah.
sure we fix that. I thought that we had the right one up, but we'll look and fix that.
I can show you a screenshot of it.
Too many Airbnb ordinances floating around. We'll make sure we get the right one.
Thank you.
Okay? All right, Kevin? Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
Jim,
name
I-
and address, please.
Kevin Walker, 401 West Franklin. Jim, I just wanted to get a clarification on the changes to the water conservation ordinance. I didn't get a chance to, there's not an extra copy back there.
So it's simply removing the number, there was a limitation on the number of days and when those days should be.
Okay,
And we feel it's really confusing. So we're gonna move forward with, so all of these ordinances came out of our green team, okay? So this ordinance, we're just gonna adopt what we're okay with right now, which is the smart controller. And then, we'll see what we do in terms of like how we regulate number of days and things like that.
now are the
For this
smart
round.
controllers available here? Do you have a list of vendors?
Hopefully by November 4, we're gonna have all that together.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
I got a system too, that's part of the questions I have.
Okay,
How
and
do
I
we do
just,
that?
I do want to commend the borough for undertaking these green initiatives. It really presents a nice counterpoint to what we're seeing on the federal level. It's nice that we can do something like this locally and reduce our carbon imprint. So I do commend you for the work you're doing.
Thanks, Rick. Good to see you. Good to see you guys today, forever. Okay, is anyone else? Yep, Beth. Just give your name and address for the.
Homestead and Oriental. Exactly what is a smart controller when you say that? But I'm not a brand. What is it?
It's when your irrigation system works, and it has some type of a sensor that takes into account weather events, like if it's raining.
A rain sensor.
Yeah, but it's a little bit more than that. The smart controller is a little bit more than that in terms of like it regulates. Like I think most folks that have an irrigation system, their smart controller is a device that's probably attached to the house or something permanent. It's a timer, times them all up, and then it's usually attached to some device that has like a dish or something that when it rains, there's water in it. A sensor decides it rained yesterday, so we're not going to water the lawn.
Okay, so
So that's what it is.
it's the control panel where you set it to water X number of days, so many minutes, that kind of stuff.
Yes, and we're gonna get clarity on that and find out a little bit more from irrigation folks. That's why we're reintroducing this now. And hopefully we'll have that clarified by November 4th. Yes, that's what it is.
Thank you.
It's to regulate it, so it's not willy-nilly to just go water the lawn as often as many times as you want under your irrigation, with your irrigation system. Okay, yes, sir.
Eric Brennan, number 253 Woodlawn Terrace. This does not in any way regulate hand watering, and it's only
No, it
automatic
doesn't.
watering.
Right.
But just generally, I would love for people to be more judicious about understanding how much rain or how much water your lawns need. Your perfect lawn causes a lot of problems environmentally. And so just on a personal level, I'd love for us, and by the way, the less you water it, your grass will grow hardier and you'll grow deeper roots and stuff.
We're just counting on no one sticking at it long enough to cause an issue.
I don't really care about my lawn, my vegetables.
I got weeds.
Yeah,
That,
no,
yeah.
handhelds are fine. Sorry, Art, you want?
No,
You good?
you're tackling it. 'Cause, I've been doing landscaping for 40 years, and 2 days a week, you're not gonna get an inch and a half of water on your lawn.
Got it.
But that 2 days just doesn't fly.
You got it. Just give your name and address for the record.
Lee Bond, East Coulter.
Anybody else?
I would just comment that there's more for an irrigation system to address than just a lawn. Many people have created lovely little gardens that are sanctuaries and that are very environmentally friendly. And, but they need water, even if you plant drought-resistant plants. So let us not be too neo-Nazi about our approach to watering plants.
This isn't, wait,
That's a comment, that's a comment.
this green measure, you're accusing of being neo-Nazi.
Well, no, I say let us not be too neo-Nazi.
Will be appropriately neo-Nazi.
This is like, okay, I'm gonna introduce you to the head of our committee that's on a
What are you on?
state level trying to impact.
Just name it, just identify yourself.
Pardon me, I applaud the objective.
We have to guard water.
I
We have to do it.
But I'm just pointing out that there's more than just lawns that we're.
We understand.
Just recognize Sandy.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Sandy Kelly with the Comics Book Green Team. I just want to reiterate, the ordinance does not include gardens or flowers or shrubs. This is for lawns only. And like the mayor said, we are looking at putting out some more educational information about the irrigation systems. But this does not include gardens, food, flowers, or shrubs.
And new lawns, it's
Yeah,
much
there's
as
exception
you
for
need
that.
for that as well.
And if there's any more that we need going along, it's not cast in stone, we'll be adjusting, fixing it, I have no doubt we'll be adjusting. Okay, any other comments on agenda items? Yes, carry on.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mary Ellen Reese. I live at 401 Virginia Avenue in Collinsville. I would like to address the Airbnb issue.
Okay.
And what actually the commissioners reject having Airbnbs in our town. I don't think it is compatible with a lot of the residential use in our town. We have single family, we've aimed at having single family use. We've worked like Kent, to get rid of duplexes, triplexes. They're not permitted. The town is a single-family residential zone throughout the town, unless you're in one of the other business districts or commercial districts. And I think that with the land values the housing values, we're starting to see properties received as houses are sold. There's a house on my block on Browning. It just sold for $600,000. A house in Virginia, in the next block up from me going towards between Harrison and Grant, between McGill and Grant, it just sold for over $500,000, 514. I don't think people who are buying properties like that want to see an Airbnb next to their property. I certainly don't want to see an Airbnb next to my property, and I'm not in that range of
Things, okay, but there's a couple things I want to try to comments, out in the wonderful world of social media about how we're horrible, that we're tenants, we're targeting people that rent properties. That is not what we have been doing for properties, have been family homes. That effort was because those properties were not built to handle multiple households. Those neighborhoods were not built to handle multiple households. It has never, ever, ever been an effort to eliminate people that rent properties. We have spent a great deal of time on the redevelopment of what's now the Parkview, 1,000 apartment units. Our efforts there have been completely directed at upgrading the physical plant, at improving the elevator service that was horrible. We're close to getting water supply issues resolved. Some work just done in the last couple of weeks, we're close to having PSE&G resolve some major power issues that have been there since it was built. So we have been doing efforts to try to improve conditions for people that rent properties. All of our rental registration process has been geared toward improving the physical condition of rental properties for the people that live in them and for the communities that those rental properties are in. That has been our focus. It is nothing else. And some of the comments I read, what people say, it's amazing what the immunity of a keyboard will do for you. But it is totally inappropriate. It's not what the focus has been. It's been all about the buildings. With respect to the short-term rentals, when this first came up, it came up as a result of neighbor complaints. That's how we found out about all this, neighbor complaints. So we began to address that, went through a process, went to a zoning board. Our zoning board said it really doesn't fit a bed and breakfast. We don't have anything that really says it's permitted, so therefore you can't operate it. So we started this long process, no doubt about that, long process to come up with that. Plus we had, for me personally, we had a fire. We had a fire on a rental property on Haddon Ave that I remember the next morning, the chief saying to me that that we had to rescue 2 people out the window, that one had to jump into the fireman's arm on the ladder, and it highlighted for us concern that if these folks were just there for the night, they may not have known how to get out. When you stay at your friend's house, it's different than when you stay at a hotel. When you stay at a hotel, there's great big signs in your room to tell you how to get out in case of fire, because you're new in the place, you don't know everything you see. So we set out to come up with an ordinance that, and from the first moment it came up, my concern was, I don't know how it benefits our communities, okay? So at least the ordinance right now that we have, I voted for it on the first reading, we vote to approve it again. it's about, and what struck us is our ordinances today don't define what term a rental is, what a short-term rental is. It's correct, it's not clear. So the ordinance that we put together is one that has safeguards, kind of heightened safeguards for properties that are going to do short-term rentals. I think it's got protections against companies that are buying up buildings all over to use them as Airbnbs, because our ordinance says that in order to rent short-term, you must be the owner, resident of the property. You must reside there. So you can't, and part of that came from the Asbury Park's ordinance, because Asbury Park had a huge influx of New York LLCs, they were buying up blocks of houses, residential where people were living, and LLCs were buying them and just renting them nonstop as Airbnb. We wanted to not have that. So I think we're striking a balance here. Just like we said with the water ordinance, I think that there will be new and different ways that people try to beat it and get around it and do things differently on it. That's the way it always happens. And we'll address it. We'll address it as we go along. If there's a problem, if it's not working, we will address it, okay? So I really wanted to just address the whole bit about how we're neo-Nazis in the way we're treating.
I didn't say that.
Not on that, but on, I've read stuff that pretty much says that about the way we treat, that we don't want people that rent properties. And that is nonsense. That is not what we have done. Our efforts have been improving the condition of the buildings and very realistically getting rid of rental units where they are in buildings that were not designed and built to be multiple family residential. That's clearly what we've been trying to do. So,
Can I just jump on?
go.
Just a rental thing in general.
Go.
By all means. We all come from different, from different angles and have different motivations. But the rental housing thing brought it up is important to me. One of the things in my thoughts on this ordinance was to make sure that we could create an ordinance that encouraged people to rent 365 to families over people who decide they can create a better business model for themselves on a short-term rental market. And because Collingswood's an expensive place. It is an expensive place. And we know how difficult it is now to buy a house, right? You have to have a lot of money down, and young families. I got here before the big boom. And, I got here in 2002. And thankfully I did, because I'm not sure I would be able to afford to move here otherwise. So having other options other than buying, purchasing, to have rentals is important. And if the market is there and the conditions are there, then someone could say, I can make more money renting, at 25% occupancy, over having someone there full time. Maybe I'll do that. I want to avoid that because I want to make sure that there's families have the ability and that there's enough housing stock for them to rent, and that we don't accidentally or purposefully raise rents by taking properties off the market. So I just want to add that, because there is another element.
All right,
I'd like to keep going.
so there's so many aspects of this. So when I first looked at this, I had a lot of hesitations because of our tutors, Jim, attorney, of trying to improve the neighborhood and trying to help get people to buy a house and rehab a house, to increase it. We can improve our neighborhood, and to rehab a house and rent it was a great thing, and it still is. Our children rent houses, they can't afford a house. So rentals are good, especially when landlords care about them, and the upgrades we've done to help make sure landlords take good care of houses, safety, health, well-being, beautification, all very good. So I'm very happy about the progress and that people are choosing to live in Collingswood now more than in all the 32 years that I've been here. But when I started looking at the short-term rentals and reading at length to try to find out what everybody was up against. The idea of losing housing, apartments, affordable housing, that's just a terrible thing. That should not happen. So we want people to live here. We don't want to be a tourist neighborhood. That is not our mission. If anybody else wants that, that's not our mission in government. Our is to have a safe, healthy, great place to live. We're not a shore community where half the houses get the pipes drained on November 10th because everyone's leaving. That's not us. So on our mission, I think that, and then addressing the short-term rentals, the first thing that I thought sounded okay before I did so much reading was if you go away for 2 weeks, maybe with all the right people, a manager in charge, a real estate agent, maybe you can rent your house. And so somebody gets a chance to live in your house. And then I thought about that. I did not being in your house. So now I'm not for that. But I did a lot of soul searching to decide that not even for somebody not, if you're renting your house, you have to be in your house in my world. Because nobody's going to make sure everything's okay with you. So our ordinance doesn't say that. We allow it. So I'm not comfortable with that. I'm also not comfortable where it's a little sketchy on pulling your cars off. Little sketchy on pulling your cars off the street because people here come to us and complain at our town forums about their neighbor across the street who blocks their driveway, goes on and on and on. You have to pull your car on the street. There's nobody who's going to come for an Airbnb or whatever it is, short-term rental, and pull their car in unless you call them on the way. Don't forget to pull your car in. They're just not going to know. It's going to be one of those things that causes strife between people. Strife between people is a big flag for me. I want neighbors to know each other, to look out for each other, and I think we do. Whether you're in an attached house or a single family, our really grand Victorian houses are about 10 feet from next door neighbor's property. We are really close. So with that said, having people come and go in a revolving door of a motel, hotel, boarding house situation, no matter how fashionable our current short-term rental things are, it still makes a feeling of disconnect with your neighbors who apparently in our ordinance don't have to know that you're there, that you're doing it, and who you are, and when it's happening. We don't have that addressed yet. Maybe we will in the future, but it's not. And when somebody rents an apartment, you know who your neighbors are by the next day. You greet them. If they're coming and going and having a party and it's noisy, you have to call the police, and then they'll come, and then you're embarrassed. You should call the police on your neighbor. More strife. I don't want that. I want people to rent for a longer term and to be our neighbor. Now, is there a need for having a different kind of housing, like a bed and breakfast? Actually buy a house and go to a zoning board and have parking in a park? I don't know. We've had some property doing it. You get property and you can do it legally instead of just. So I find that the more that it takes over in a $38 billion industry that's here to make us think we need them, the more that they make us that we've created a need, and now we think people are going to be able to subsidize their income. You're not with 30 days, not unless you're trying to cheat the ordinance, which brings us to enforcement, which is going to be ridiculous and impossible. Our police and fire department are not going to ride up and down the streets looking with a bullhorn, which is what they do in Miami, to say, come out of the house, that's an illegal rental. That's what they do. Can you imagine living in that situation when we've come this far? So everything I say is based on reading over and over to try to make sure I didn't miss anything and to see what islands in Hawaii want it banned so that you only go to Waikiki because they don't want you in their neighborhoods because you're changing the character of the neighborhood. This is happening. So that's, my stand, but I keep trying to look at where did we come from and what's happening, what's pressuring us to do this. We also don't say the number of them. So sounds crazy, but your whole block could have them. And I have to, as government, it's our job to look at the easiest and the worst case scenarios so that it doesn't happen to you. So right now, we don't have a limit on that. Best practices by the state says that there shouldn't be more than one within 300 feet. That everybody who's a neighbor should know who's coming. So I've read articles on that in the state saying what we should be doing, and we're not there yet in this ordinance. Everybody next door should be coming and going. You shouldn't have to be guessing that every Saturday night's a different party coming. So I don't want to take up an hour of your time, but and I also think if you live in an attached house, you shouldn't have to have people coming and going when you're sharing a wall. You should know who your neighbors are. That's some of my things. So I appreciate, though, being part of the conversation and being part of, looking at all aspects of this, we usually are able to get through things and agree on things. I think this whole industry is like from another planet, landing on our heads, taking over our government and acting like they're the government and not us. Because believe me, when you take them to court, they don't pay their fines. They're bigger than us, way. So it's hard to deal with something that is that big. Also, I'm hearing that on a federal level and presidential candidates are coming with it. So, because they don't like what's happening in government. Anyway, enough of me.
Listen, I think everything that Commissioner Leonard said is valid points. And they're ones that I think all of us have wrestled with. And I think it really, the only difference is we feel like this resolution addresses the points. I do, the mayor does, and that's okay, right? Because we're elected individually to make these choices. So, nobody should think because we were a great host or we were a great tenant and we had a great host, we'll always have outcomes. Because problems can happen and at some point or another they will happen. I feel like our ordinance deals with a lot of those potential problems. The simplest and easiest way, first of all, is owner occupied, which takes away the ability for an LLC to just come in and say, look, I'm going to just run this as I want. There's an investment here. I think the permitting and registration process is very important. We do ask a lot of people that would be hosts of this, and we do that for reasons that relate to your neighborhood and the community. We do it in terms of your guests. So, some may look at, for instance, if you're not staying at home, you're renting your home. The mayor brought this up. We ask that we require you to have your alarm system, your fire alarm system hardwired. Why? Because if a fire starts in the basement and the only thing that goes off there, and you're on the third floor, you're a deep sleeper, you're not a deep sleeper, that can be a huge problem. And while we don't say you need to meet hotel standards of having a sprinkler system or anything, we feel like this is a good option. That registration also is something that can be polled. So in the ordinance, we say, look, if you're a chronic problem, if you're a host and you've been cited several times for violations of the ordinance, whether that essentially we can take away your permit after you get your due process, and that's a good thing. So we can't account. Nobody can predict the future. Anyone that says I'm for it or I'm against it and says I know, no, the answer is you're wrong. But the thing is, are you prepared for the future, whatever it may be? And I think that our ordinance does that in a way that balances the needs of the community and also understands that there are changes in markets and what people want and how people are using their properties. That if managed properly, it's very important, if managed properly, can really be a positive thing. I don't think we're going to have Miami problems or even Asbury Park problems. I think a lot of our people are going to be visiting business people, family members that can't stay in your own thing, but maybe there will be some people that come from Philadelphia. And that's not a bad thing. By the way, another thing in the ordinance says that you cannot rent out for social or commercial functions. So you can't have a Muhammad Ali party house. Right? You can't have it. And you know what? I understand that sometimes you can't control it, but there are things within there about the amount of people, the maximum amount of people that can stay in your place. And so that's another thing that's within the ordinance. As the mayor said before, there may be new things that come along. And we can, we should, and we will address those things. And that can go both ways. We might have some really good news things. It might go swimming. You don't hear nary a peep, and businesses are doing a little bit better, and people are meeting interesting people. Or we might just have chronic problems all over the place. Again and again, we're running into problems. cars, trash, noise, whatever it is. And we may need to adapt the other way. I think that's the last thing I'll say, is nothing set in stone. That essentially this is a thoughtful process that we went through, but it's a learning process that doesn't stop. We continue to learn and adapt.
So before we go Airbnb, okay, all in on Airbnb, is there we'll do that at the end, okay? We can talk about Airbnb, but does anybody have any comments on the resolutions on the agenda? Anything you want, any questions to ask? Anything, just let us get through that business and then we can talk, okay? You good? Anything else on the resolutions? So, no, none of the resolutions we're doing have to do with Airbnb. That's just.
We can even go through the resolution.
So let's go through it. So, Paul, go ahead. Appointing Adam Lee.
Appointing Adam Layden as part-time EMT firefighter for Borough Collinswood.
Yes.
Approving grace period for taxes, water, and sewer payments.
All this resolution does is extend the date for filing, paying your taxes as a Sunday. So it moves it to November 11/11. No, that's October, right? November?
No issue.
We're open.
Veterans Day?
No, because we're open. No, we're open, right? Yeah, but we can receive. Okay, yes.
Yes.
Approval to submit a grant application and execute a contract with NJDOT for the Grant Avenue Improvement Project Phase 2.
So every year we apply for, most years we have gotten DOT money to do street improvements. This is for Grant Avenue. I think we did Eldridge this past year is what we did. It was for Grant Avenue. Sandy's in agreement with that, because she's myself over there. But, so, yes, so,
Yes.
Authorizing participation in the Camden County Cooperative Pricing System, Deer Partners Removal.
yes,
Yes.
self-explanatory.
Approving a lien certification for pursuant to Chapter 227 Borough Code, 130 East Linden and 328 Farmer Ave.
So these are property maintenance violations where there's been citations and the work has not been done. So with proper notice, we go and do the work, and then we lien the property for the work that we did. Yes.
Yes.
Authorizing the submission of a strategic plan for the Municipal Alliance Grant Cycle 2020 to 2025.
And that's just part of the grant we get under this alliance, yes?
Yes.
Authorizing grant agreement for fiscal year 2019 for the Community Development Block Grant.
This is referred to as CDBG money. It's federal money that comes through the county that we just make application for the roads. Part of it gets used for this building right here for senior services here at this building.
Yes.
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 Requesting approval of items of revenue and appropriation 2019 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program.
So this is simply free money that we're getting in, that we have to amend our budget in order to receive it. Yes.
Yes. Authorizing the acquisition of the property located at 690 Haddon Avenue, identified as block 96.01, lot 1702.
So this is another kind of a milestone, stepping stone in our dealings with Batsamore. The property has been cited a number of times. The municipal court process is not always the best way to get properties fixed up, because you cite somebody for an issue, they have so much time to fix it. A lot of times they request extensions. It's kind of governed by the judge. If they fix that item they got cited for, but there's 3 other things that have happened that you can go cite them for that. It's not the greatest way to get a property fixed up. We've been in a long process with this property. We've had all kinds of things told to us of what's going to happen. Nothing has happened. It continues to get into bad shape. We have already given notice to them that we were going to commence eminent domain proceedings. We gave them notice and they were able to attend with an appraiser who did an appraisal of the property. In this process, that's usually what takes the longest, get an appraisal done. We've gotten the appraisal in. This now authorizes us to make an offer based on that appraisal. We have a duty to enter into negotiations to purchase that property. If that is not successful, then we will file suit in Superior Court to acquire the property. So we've been in this for 8-9 months now, hoping that we get the owner to step up and to do some some needed repairs. Municipal court process hasn't worked, so we're in this process, and this authorizes to move forward. Yes.
Authorizing negotiations for operations of the Borough Compost Facility.
This is a facility where we drop off our trees or fallen branches, leaves, and compost, which is in a sort of gradually failing state and not at the state-of-the-art type of situation we would like it to be. And we're looking for an agency to work with us to make it into a much more usable state-of-the-art compost facility where our drivers will no longer have to drive to Elmer, New Jersey and waste gas and time and manpower, but instead have it done here in Collinswood on site, making a huge green initiative for our borough.
So this is a private company that is going to set up a satellite office, a satellite location here, and kind of receive from all over. So this is simply authorizing us to negotiate, work out what the business terms are from all over. So this has been a lot of money with shrub and everything and taking it to dispose of it. So hopefully this will eliminate that cost, and who knows, maybe make us 50 cents back in the meantime. That would be the goal. That would be the goal. Yeah, and it's a good thing, right? Okay, yes.
Yes.
Okay, we have discussion of best practices.
Okay, so discussion of best practices. So this is a requirement from the state of New Jersey. There is this, actually Governor Christie put this into effect. And it is in order to stay eligible for the full state funding, you need to complete a checklist of what the state has determined is the best practices to follow. I'll give you the end of the story first, where the most points you can score on this is 46. You have to have a minimum of 30. If you're below 30, your aid gets cut. We score a 45.5 out of 46. I don't know what we lost a half a point for, but we're 45.5 out of 46. The best practices, we engage, deal with the subjects of personnel, budget, financial administration, capital projects, transparency, authorities, procurement, cybersecurity, shared services, miscellaneous operations, pilots and ratables, affordable housing, environment, planning, and economic development. So this is our discussion of it. Would anyone like to add anything else? We also have to discuss it at a meeting to talk about the best practices. We're doing a great job with the best practices. Hats off to Betty Jo and everybody at the staff. Betty Jo, I know, is upset that we didn't get that half a point. We'll work on that for next year.
Congratulations
Don't
on
thank
getting such a good score.
Thanks, Sarah.
With a gold star, and yes, it's all good. All right, so we're good. So we did our discussion of best practices. Yes, Mr. Klingman.
Yeah, will the full report be up on the website?
I think it's filed with the state. It's available. I can give you the one I have here. These are all our answers, right? Yeah, I'm happy to give you this. It's fine. But it's up on, it gets filed with the state. And so I'm sure there's a site where you can go see it all. It's exciting reading. You're gonna love every bit of it. You're gonna love every little bit of it. Okay, and that's what we need in order to keep our state funded. Okay,
Okay, and we have the approving the payment of bills as presented by the treasurer.
yes,
Yes.
okay. We haven't talked enough. Commissioner Liddell.
Super brief. Leaf collection begins the week of October 14th. Want to make sure people know that. Please do not put your leaves into the street, especially when we're having these isolated, very strong storms. It's doing a lot to sort of clog our storm sewer systems, and that creates flooding and road hazards for bicyclist drivers, obstacles for pedestrians, everything. The other thing is a lot of those leaves can be composted, so find a way to just keep it in your garden. Put it into a compost barrel if you have one. And so mention that. Just real, all the great events we have, I'm sure you're going to talk about. Just don't want to forget about Second Saturday, which is this weekend. It's a great way to enjoy the downtown fall festival. That's hosted by our Collinswood PTAs is October 19th. at Night Park, and that's followed by the next week, the Haunted Hayride is back, which hasn't been here for a few years, and some great community volunteers, worked very hard to put it together, and that is October 26th from 6:30.
Halloween is on Halloween. Once again, the other towns that have 4th of July on the 4th of July, Christmas on Christmas, and, you know, Halloween on Halloween, 2 in the afternoon until 7. So just wanted to announce that in case you weren't sure of that. There's some people here maybe from the community garden. Anybody here from our community garden? Richard, Eric? So listen to this. Who else? Laura? Here. Laura. The Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, so that's big stuff, right? The gardening and greeting contest, we have won before in our community gardening. The blue ribbon winner for vegetable gardens in a community. We've won this award thanks to our terrific gardeners, not in one location, but in 2 in the borough now, in 2016, 17, and now, 2019. 4 years in a row. This is a group that is fussy, so you win this award, it is a great thing. And they do appreciate Collinwood and the work that's being done here. So I wanted to commend them for their great work. And that is a group that is very self-regulating in terms of having the best practice and works closely. We have them and they help other people. I'm not sure if anybody wants to stop over and see at the end of them donating a huge amount of produce to St. Paul's for their, wants to stop over and see at the end of them donating a huge amount of produce to St. Paul's for their food, fresh produce for it, which is also incredibly lovely. So I wanted to mention that. And we tree plant twice a year, plus every time we redo a street. And the past couple of years, we've made a bigger effort with involving the community in tree planting in our November planting. So it's going to be Saturday, November 9th. We'll have it up on our website to meet by the library and walk over. Last year was the Tatum School area. This year is the Zane North area. It has nothing to do with the school itself, but that way you know where we're going. So we've hit those areas again and again, but there are about 30 places that have been identified where homeowners want a tree, and we're going to go to the farm and tree. So if you're interested, give a call and bring your shovel and your gloves. And it's great because at the end of the day, with volunteers and public works, there's usually at least 20 trees in the ground, and it's exhilarating to see it all happen in one morning. And then public works is left with the next 20 for the next week. But we have a good day that one day and water those trees. That's all. I'll stop right there.
So I just want to give thanks for the folks that ran, we're open up in 1 second. The folks that ran events this past weekend was just packed full with events. Friday night was, we did a fundraiser for the Scottish Rite over on the grounds of the mansion and kind of the front grounds of the Scottish Rite. It was a Gatsby night. Boy, folks in this town do like to dress up. So we had close to 400 people out. Maybe 2 people didn't dress in the style of the 20s. I want to give a special thanks to Cassandra and to Sandy, to Thelma and Louise for the work that they did on this. Mary Baldwin, our new director at the Scottish Rite Auditorium, learned what it's like to run a town event, and she hasn't quit yet. Waiting for that, but it was an amazing crowd. It was an amazing crowd. It was an amazing event. The mansion, we got to show that off. It looks great. It was a great success. Raised over $20,000 for the Scottish Rite. And then have to thank all the volunteers that made this book festival on Saturday. There's just nothing like it. There's just nothing like it anywhere in the Delaware Valley. I don't know where there is, but there's nothing like this. There were so many interesting authors in town, discussions. It's been a whole week of events that have gone on. It's an amazing day. Never do you get that many people gathered together that are that quiet on an app. It is the quietest you ever hear had an app. But it's a great event. Thanks to all of them. And then we had Clover Market was in town again yesterday. They've become a mainstay over the last few years, a great little change of pace on a Sunday. And even though it was an Eagles game at the same time they were there, it was big crowds, it was terrific. So
And local businesses really like Clover Market.
it's just bringing a lot of people
Really
in.
good feedback.
You know what, it's just bringing people in, that's what it's all about, just getting people in, that's it. And I want to give an extra special plug for the hayride, the haunted hayride. We haven't done it for a little bit, but when we did it, it'll go from, like, kind of people will line up and get on these little trailers in front, over by the house in the park. And it just runs the loop at the park where the movies are shown, where the gazebo is. And we used to have a couple hundred people go through, and the lines were crazy. And it is, it's getting a lot of PTA, youth group are getting involved doing it. I'm already getting requests, he's left with, like, the Hurt family used to spend the day out there constructing a building in the middle of the road. They want to make a lake this year as part of this. They've done there've been crazy things that have happened out there for this. So it is really a great night. I think I'm not sure what the fundraiser is for with the PTAs. I don't know if it's the, what's the day, the graduation, project graduation, right? Okay. So a lot of people energized, involved in it. Back in the day, it used to be like 3 of us that had it. So it's terrific. So I really urge you to take your kids out. It's great for adults. It'll be a great time. That's all we got to talk about. Let's open it up. Folks want to talk. Fiona, I cut you off before. Go ahead.
Thank you, Fiona, and everyone. I had sent an email, but I can't find it, thanking you all for making the short-term rentals be an owner-occupied house. I think that is crucial.
Can I just be clear, just so it's not that it has to be, so the person doesn't have to be home when it's rented,
Right, but
okay?
if they're not
They have
home,
to
you have
be-
to have the hardwired.
They have to be a resident, so a guy so you can rent your house. You
Yeah,
can rent it to somebody for the weekend and be gone.
yeah,
Okay.
you
But you
could,
need
the
to-
house has to be owned by.
That needs to be
has
your
the
residence.
primary, yes, so I'm
Okay.
thanking you.
Yes.
And, but I did want to say to Mary Ellen, I don't think the people buying $500,000 houses are in need of renting out a room.
Obviously. Obviously.
Oh,
I'm
you're
concerned
worried
that-
about
No, her point is what that does for the neighborhood. The guy that's spending $500,000 on his house, is he expecting to have, is he gonna wanna have the Muhammad Ali weekend party
Oh, okay.
next
I
door?
hear you, the
That's
worst, the
her
worst case scenario is.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Even.
Well, it's
even
not worst
some-
case,
even
it's
though-
right over there at Cherry Hill.
Yes,
Like,
well,
you know.
not necessarily worst case, it
But
could be the.
No.
Anyway, I'll rephrase that.
Talk to us.
Okay, well, if it would be a person's home, I would not be renting it to some yahoos that are gonna make a lot of noise, gonna make a lot of trash, or be pedophiles, because I'm there and I have a minor child. I don't want strangers in my house, but I can afford my taxes, so I can either leave Collingswood, or I can find a boyfriend. Anyone? I had some relatives that could come over, they'd be worse than anybody I would. But it's frustrating when you put out these things about, oh, the trash, what trash? Are people, what are they gonna bring in their trash to the home?
Valid points. Those are happening in places. You can go away for the weekend, and the people can come in, could raise holy hell.
Right. Those kind of things are undesirable to the home.
I get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
We're
things
hoping
go
that,
wrong.
we're counting on that.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I want to say, thank you.
Good address.
Leslie Fence at 315 Taylor Avenue. I have a short comment about the Airbnb ordinance. I understand it's kind of a done deal, so we're probably not getting any changes right now. So I just.
To the ordinance that we just made some changes to tonight? The
Yeah.
ordinance? Okay.
I feel like we're probably not needing major changes, the type I'm looking for. So instead, I'd like to urge the commissioners to, look and see how this goes. Those are going to address the landlords. People who come in are generally not problems, and they're going to be helpful to our town. And I'm hoping that once we see that, 6 months, a year, we're safe, there's widows, And there's people that have just been in bad financial situations that kind of need this extra revenue. And just my other comment about it is that I've also been online, as you may know, seeing some of the comments about this. And what has struck me is that a lot of the fears seem to be people are afraid of outsiders coming into the town, if they're only going to stay for a night. Mally, you were just talking about how we throw these events to get people into the town. And I think it's silly to say, oh, we want access in a little while.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say thank you to you guys for helping me out with the South State issue I had.
Yep.
They did a great job working with South State to make sure that an issue that happened on my property got resolved very quickly. That was awesome. The other thing.
Let me so that was construction work related to the sewer and everything for the public safety building. But let me for everybody that lives in the neighborhood, like if anything else happens as we're going through this construction, we will make sure it gets fixed, okay? They just knocked down a little wall, right? That's all, they knocked the land wall, but when we got.
How do we get an invite to the new patio though?
Yes, so stuff could happen, I just want you to know, we do all we can.
You guys did a fantastic job.
Great.
The follow-up is, does South State have like order of projects that they anticipate completing in the near future? Because they still have not come back out to 26 or to West Summerfield Avenue to repave the area with the new water infrastructure completed. And earlier, I think about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, there was an issue where the mesh lining in the new sewers.
Is the overlay going to get done before?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought it was supposed to be done last week, no, this week?
Okay.
It's supposed to be done last week? And it has been, okay.
Okay. So
We'll look into it, and just South State, my law office, I've not been involved in this because of that, but I know that they were supposed to do some work. Should have been done, so we'll check and find out.
Okay, thank you. I got to go to the watch property now.
Go ahead, Lou, go ahead.
Lou
Just name and
Iackello,
address.
in Mill Place, 17 Eldridge. Thank you. 17 Eldridge Avenue, here in Collinswood. I just wanted, for the public record, to see you on that. I can send that to you tonight with your comments. But I do agree with the points Mary Ellen made about the Airbnb. I have concerns. I don't think I want to have problems, where I am. We know our neighbors. To the points that you spoke about, Joan, about knowing your neighbors and knowing who's coming and going and having that rapport with them. I completely agree with you. I mean, I know I don't be in a position as a resident where I have to have those uncomfortable conversations with my neighbor about, hey, who is that? And have you rented it for more than 30 days? It looks like you have. I just don't want to be in that position, and I don't think I will be, but they're my concerns. So I agree with your points, your perspective. I hope if you have issues, I mean, I'm not against trying something, but I hope if there are issues that, you will come back to them and visit them. I can tell you, as we were talking about this earlier, we lived in Fort Lauderdale for a while, and that did happen a lot down there, much like the Miami scenario. I know that, these are different communities. Kids that come to Philadelphia and want to be in Collinswood, sort of like a spring break kind of thing. Not spring breakish, but you can have a problem anywhere. And I know you'll hear this because it happened with our building. I was the president of the board there. You need to own a unit for a year before you can rent it in any scenario.
You're talking lumberyard.
No. This is in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay.
Airbnbs were, the short-term rentals were not allowed. You need to rent for a year, and you need to own for a year. We had somebody, ironically, from this area purchase a unit down there, and immediately someone found it on Airbnb. A neighbor reported it, and what you'll hear if people are trying to violate this is that, oh, no, that's that was my aunt and my cousins. So just to make you aware, I mean, I hope it works out, but.
Across the street from the comment a couple weeks ago, it was 5:20 in the morning. Whoever was there doing the sewer work came with a truck to pick up a front end loader or some sort of vehicle, had the headlights shining in my bedroom or idling for like a half an hour. I called the police, they came, they told them to turn off the headlights. Truck sat there idling, they made all this racket at 5:20 in the morning. So, I would hope that the company adheres to the times that they can get onto the property to do construction, because if they're there before 7, this is across the street from my bedroom, and the trucks are allowed.
Idling's not allowed either.
Well, idling, and I called the police, lights, noise, idling, and he addressed the lights, which were shining into my bedroom, but it was like a 20-minute thing at 5:20 in the morning. I called, I don't know if any other neighbors did, but it had to wake everybody up. I had my windows open, and it had the air conditioning on, it was a cool night. So I hope, and,
We're gonna do everything we can to make sure you don't.
Okay,
We
so
got the
I
calls were out there early that day.
it wasn't a trash truck.
Well, I
This
know,
was-
but they were back in there at
Yeah,
early too.
and they should have, and we've had
They
problems
should
with
be.
that too, with the dumpsters, that they collect behind the Zane Avenue apartments. Otherwise, but I do want to say, I've been a resident of Collingswood since 1958. I grew up here, my family's from here, I have family members who own homes here. And, as far as short-term rentals are concerned, the people that I speak to that I know are absolutely categorically do not want it. They don't want strangers next door to them. They're concerned about their children out in their yards. There's a stranger next door. Can we leave our back door open? Who is this person? It's just a stranger. So you really don't know. I mean, it could be exaggerated. And for me, as far as bad actors are concerned, well, I had the misfortune. I bought my house on Haddon Avenue in 1986. So I moved in. Ex-police chief Frank McCart lived there. They were thrilled. It was a derelict house. We fixed it up. We turned it around. And, they died. They were all absolutely horrible. She was just, I don't know what you would call her. She was odd. And then she had dogs that she didn't clean up after her house. Short term. So all these different people were in and out. She owned 4 separate rental properties in Collingswood in addition to her house. The house across the way from us, which is Minitwin, which was another twin, she had that set up like a boarding house. She was renting out rooms to 5 different people, had somebody living there, I think, that was the house captain, and that's what she did. And I don't think I was concerned, but really, there wasn't much that anybody could do for me. She owned that house. So she was a bad actor. I had another neighbor behind me, they since still live there, but when we moved in, the people that they rented to on the second floor were horrible. It was right behind me. The second floor of the balcony from a tree, his arm, there were all kinds of disturbances. Then they rented to another family, and the uncle, they had a husband and wife with 2 children, and an uncle living there, and he would dangle over the balcony by our ankles. And what happened to them? It was a disgrace. When they moved out, they tore it. The family lives entirely in that house now. It's still a duplex, but the family next door is much better. And there's another 4-unit property down the street on Haddon Avenue, a couple blocks away, that were renting to kids that were in a band. And I would be woken up in the morning from that noise, coming from a couple blocks down on Haddon Avenue. So what I want to know is, what is the benefit to me for somebody to rent their house out short term? I had a hard time with my neighbor. I don't want to confront people. I did confront her. She was abusing rabbits in her backyard. I had to take her to court with John Doe. It took a lot of time out of my life. And then I had this crazy relationship where I went out my back door and there she was. She had dog poop in her yard. 4 dogs, never cleaned it. 25 years until, unfortunately, she passed away. Now I have great neighbors. The house was renovated, good story. But hey, I'm in a twin. I don't want a short-term rental next to me, and I don't want to have to confront my neighbor. So where do I go? Because it's going to be me against my neighbor. I can tell you right now, I'm going to have to take them to court. And this big unicorn, Airbnb, multi-billion-dollar company, they want to do an IPO. They just put the cart before the horse and ran with this. They made all this money. They're accusing towns. There's so many people in this country that have been put upon by this big company. They're not responsible. Where's the security service? Like in a hotel, if you've got your neighbor in the hotel that's causing a ruckus, they'll move you to another room. They'll call security. Who do I get to come out to my house? How do I know how many nights my neighbor is renting their house out for? Where's the accountability? I want to know who's on my block. I want to leave my back door open if I'm out watering my garden. I don't want to walk in with a stranger coming in my house. There are bad actors. I don't think anyone who lives in this residential community should have to put up with that. So, and myself, I put a lot into the town. I've been on the Horticultural Society since 1990. I'm on the Collingswood Shade Tree Advisory Board. I do a lot of volunteering in town. This town is great. I've seen such big changes since, well, the 50s one had that. It's really nice right now. But our town is great, but a lot of work went into making it the way it is. And people come in now, they might not know the history, but they just want to pluck the good stuff for themselves. So what do I get out of my neighbor earning money on an Airbnb? What do we get in the community for this? I don't want to sacrifice my peace and contentment for that. So, and also in a twin or a multi, in a row home, now you want to inspect these houses so that people who are renting are secure. What about the house next door? Because my neighbor's house was a fire hazard. She was running electrical wire to supply her outlets. I mean, from an extension cord. It was a fire hazard. I didn't even know. I lived next door to that for 25 years. So I would want to be able to have a say in whether or not a neighbor and a twin could be doing this kind of short-term rental. And I would want the resident to be there because they need to be the police force for their house. We shouldn't have to pay money for our police force to come out. Where's the funding going to come for this to, deal with these problems? Because I had a hard time. That's helping us with carbon sequestration. There's a lot of energy. I decided to stay here. I raised my daughter here, put her through school. I went through school here. I have family members here. We all love it, but we don't want short-term rentals. So, thank you.
Yeah.
How many Airbnb units are there in Collingswood, regardless of whether they're being used or not, and for that purpose? And how many do you project into the future?
I thought the number I heard was 30.
30?
Don't quote me on that. I thought 30.
Yeah.
How many I have no idea. I do not think it's going to be any great explosion in the number of, I just don't believe it's going to happen.
I went on Airbnb after the last meeting. There was only one. When you pull up Collingswood, they're all in Philadelphia, except for one. But
I'm just telling, the number I think we had was like,
We thought they were 20 to 30.
and it's not just Airbnb.
yeah, there's other methods.
Right.
Okay, well, you're saying roughly your guess is 30.
We don't expect there to be,
And a lot of those were
We
enacted.
don't expect there to be 4,000.
no,
Okay.
And
No.
some of
There
those,
can be, our ordinance allows that.
there can be. There can be.
even in that number, a lot of them were inactive accounts. They were set up when the Pope was coming to town.
And we kind of just let it go because it was and after that, it just kind of died down, and then a few years went by, and
So, an interesting but related, what's going here, it's a political geography class, so it was germane to the class. I sort of did a case study on it, gave them the fact pattern, and they all said, you're a horrible human being. And they all said, you're a horrible human being, if you would rent your one person out of the 34 kids. So it's interesting, is people want it, they want it to be available. Of those people, the amount that actually want to rent out there available will be much smaller. I mean, we'll know when we know, but at least in that small sampling, huge advocates, but not really put their own home for it. So thank you for your comments.
yes, sir.
Just wanted to second what Joe said, what Joe there in front of you said. I did have a question about the ordinance. It didn't seem like it specified how many renters could be in a particular place, like, one person, two people. nine
It's
people.
property maintenance code, so there's a formula under, there's a formula under state ordinances that so many square feet, so many bedrooms, this is how many people can be there. Okay? Just follow the same rules as everybody else does. We'll get around to you. Yep, go ahead, Steve.
Stephen Piaquadio, 28 West Brownie Road. So I don't have anything against renters. I'm a landlord myself. I just am looking for accountability. I know you're, I'm a landlord myself. I just am looking for accountability. I know you're doing the inspections, the yearly inspection, but as a landlord, every year I have to write all my tenants' names, their ages, their phone numbers, everything about them. So when these tenants come in and out every weekend, these short-term landlords have to report who's going to be in their unit, their contact.
Is it, Joe, is it a reporting?
They have to maintain.
So they have to maintain a log at their house with who's staying there. Is it a reporting?
They have to maintain.
So they have to maintain a log at their house with who's staying there when. Okay? And the purpose for that is fire. Okay? So if something goes wrong and they get there, they've got a chance to have something that would tell them there's this many people here. Okay? I mean, you think about when they go to your house, right? They don't know. So single family homes that are owner occupied, when they get there, they don't know. I've been in, unfortunately, enough fires where we spend all our time right away saying, is there anybody else in the house? So this is now given away to like help for somebody is there anybody else in the house? Like help for somebody that may not know how to get out, for us to know there's another person here, and then we start working trying to locate that person, either in the house or get confirmation that they're in Philly at dinner, or they're like find out where they are.
Right.
So yes, there is maintaining a lot.
And then I've expressed this before, meeting just having young children. For my tenants, I do credit check, the background check. If anything shows up, if they were, on Megan's list or, do Megan's law, all of that would show up. Is there any sort of due diligence that the short-term landlord would have to do?
We don't have a requirement for background checks. We don't have a requirement for long-term rentals either. Okay? So the guy that rents for a year, there's no requirement in the ordinance that there's a background check.
But most landlords
That's right.
They all do that because they become part of the community.
And
that's something that landlords typically do.
So tying into what Fiona's point was earlier, we also would hope that the guy whose house it is, that he's renting it out for the night, he will take some steps to be careful.
And I know Fiona will. I love you, Fiona.
No.
I know
But
you will.
yeah.
I'm concerned about the people who are not going to do it and who's going to force it. And, like other people said here, nobody wants to knock on their neighbor's door.
No, I don't encourage you to knock on your neighbor's door about that anytime. There's a record that's made with us if they're able to register it. There's a record supposed to be maintained about how many days they've done it. That's all borough. That's not, you're not gonna need to go to your neighbor.
Oh, no.
And say, that's the one.
No, right, exactly. Issue, whatever, nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, I know. But as Emmy went through, that can happen with the guy that bought the house next door.
Right.
Okay. The guy that's.
It's gonna happen once or twice, something's gonna happen. This could be repeated. Someone comes in this weekend, then
Not
they
some of the-
leave.
Not
then
some
the
neighbors,
next weekend,
not some
somebody else
neighbors
comes
I've
in.
had, but okay. Okay, you got it, thank you. What else? Yeah, oh, we're gonna. No, go ahead, go. We fixed it, go.
I'm sorry, Front Avenue, Penn Township. Full disclosure, I have been a short-term rental host since 2012. And I do believe, Mayor, when you say you're not trying to get the registrars, because if I to stop, which I probably will, my house people rent. So, appreciate the ordinance, and I like it more and more every time we work on it. But it's weird to be a short-term rental operator in a way that I know would not be encouraged, right? I'm in a detached house, no parking, not there. I am So my concern, I have two major concerns. One is 30-day limit. 30-day limit doesn't give anyone time to get experience. How to find a scan, or how to detect a scanning reservation request, what to do about it, how the platform works, how to pay your taxes, and if you're gonna pay taxes, and how to make deductions. It doesn't give you a way to talk to your neighbors and communicate with them. You don't get that experience, how to have the awkward conversations with people who are not doing anything wrong, that maybe you feel more patient with, right? I had an issue where someone was smoking on the front porch, using that right, dealing with the bus. My neighbor next door says to me, "Not really understand. Good. Done. We'll take more patient with, right? I had an issue where someone was smoking on the front porch, using that right, dealing with the bus. My neighbor next door says to me, "Not really understand. Good. Done. We'll take care of that. Nobody smokes on the porch." So it's having those conversations that takes time. Between 30 days, nobody smokes on the porch. So it's having those conversations that takes time. Between 30 days a year doesn't give you that experience, and it guarantees you never get that experience. So that's my first concern. My second concern is there's no limit to them. Like, I think that when the brewer was coming to town, there was a lot of, it's going to bring this and that, and they've been a good neighbor. I don't think we're a brewer right corner, and I think short-term rentals can be this and that, and they've been, and I think short-term rentals can be good neighbors. I don't think we're in every street with 100 blocks in every neighborhood. So I would argue for a limited number of permits and let people get some experience doing it. And then I would say the issue about the fire on Patton Avenue and what if that was a short-term rental, regular homeowners insurance doesn't cover short-term rentals. I know this because I tried, and I was told it, but I went to two insurance companies and a broker. And I wound up with a special short-term rental policy, which is twice as much as my regular homeowner policy. But that covers the house regardless of who did it and what the disease. So as soon as money changes hands for a short-term rental, there's a fire that night, that house is not properly insured, and if it burns down, that house may wind up staying vacant because somebody may not have the money to fix it up. And the house on East Collins a couple of years ago, several years, there was a fire right next to Frontier Crest, one of the homes there. That house was rebuilt and redone beautifully in a matter of months because it was properly insured. So what I see lacking in this still is the short-term insurance, homeowners insurance, appropriate coverage, the number of permits.
Longer than 30 days.
And the 30 days, I think should be expanded, so people can get experience, their neighbors can know, it kind of says, this is a house that does that, if there's a problem, here's the contact. I would support the owner occupied, I would support the parking, I support unattached. I support everything that would run me out of town, and that's okay, because I bought here in bought here in 2005, I lived here since 1999. I was a recipient of one of the outside grants to fix up your house. It's a great town. And I think now there's probably 10 Airbnbs in Collingswood. One of them is listed for time because they bought that house, they don't live here, they listed each bedroom and the whole house. I don't like that.
That's what I think.
I don't like that.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
I don't like
that's what I think.
I don't like that.
Yeah, that's,
Like, Joe, I think you and I could work out a good policy.
yeah,
You're kind of losing her on more than 30 days, though.
Yeah.
They can kind of lost her on that.
well, but listen, I'm not against a bed and breakfast, that you go to the zoning board and get zoned against a bed and breakfast. Parking lot in the back, you have to have room, you can't, and somebody should invest and buy that house and do that in it, but cars have to come off the street, you can't be attached, and each bedroom can't be its own entity. And who is checking on the 31st day? There's nothing about this that works yet, because we don't have this experience, and the fire department's not gonna dedicate 2 men to walk around with a bullhorn.
Right.
So,
you checked
sorry.
off two of my 3 concerns. You checked off 2 of my.
But it can be 100 properties, it can be 200, right?
So you checked
sorry.
off 2 of my 3 concerns. You checked off 2 of my.
But it can be 100 properties, it can be 200, right? From what we're doing.
And the other thing I say is, and this is actually, I'll show you in my little notes for all the highlights, that highlight is the, but you're gonna let them own the house and then go away for a week and rent it, because to me, that is such a, that highlight is the, but you're gonna let them own the house and then go away for a week and rent it, because to me, that is such a high level trick of hosting, right? There's so many things that can go wrong and they're all unexpected. My sewer line broke when I got there, the key broke off in the lock.
when it gets for there. You may have someone there to answer why. I feel like it's just a bad situation.
Can I just touch a couple of points you had? There's only one brewery. Okay. There's only one brewery because there's just only one brewery. There's nothing in our law that says there can only be one. Okay, that's it. And so the issue with this is it just creates all kinds of legal issues when you say there can be 10. Okay, because who's the 10? How do you decide the 10? Do we do a lottery every year who the 10 are? And that just doesn't get to your issue about, that there's a value to the experience, to having people be experienced. So, you get into all kinds of other issues in terms of putting a limit like that on a use of your property is legally very troublesome, okay? Not likely to get, yo, what's wrong? Why can't I do it? What was your other one? The other one was, so it does say detached can do it. And we do have provisions in here about insurance. Yeah, it's in here about insurance.
This is like, this is the coverage.
Right.
It's a different policy than homeowners.
Yeah, I know, so it's gotta be the appropriate coverages, yes.
Right, but it's gonna double people's homeowners
I
insurance. You're not
agree.
gonna get that with very basic rental.
We understand. Yes, hang on, yes.
Russ Jackson, 113 Fern Avenue. I'm with John and Annie. I have a couple points to make. One is, I believe Uber makes a point of rating their customers. Does Airbnb do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have assurance that person's got a clean track record that you're gonna let in your house?
Airbnb has their own.
Well, that's what I figured.
But no, a guy can rent for the year. A guy can rent his house for a year. No good, loud mouth, partying, son of.
I think maybe that's all irrelevant. Check to me.
Okay.
I am not, maybe not, that's all irrelevant. Check to me.
Okay.
I am not happy with the idea that my neighbor could go down the shore for a week and rent that house out, and our houses are like 15 feet apart.
Yeah.
And I have nothing to say about it. Like you say, some people buy a house as neighbors. To live with that and accommodate how you associate with that neighbor becomes somebody who just comes in there for short rental. You don't have that ability to do that. Okay? So I just go down on the record saying I am against the idea that my neighbors can go down the shore and rent their house without my having any control over it. Third point is, yeah, we have regulations and rules. Go around Collinswood and look at the real world, where people park, how people drive. The idea that regulations are going to make the slightest bit of difference is ridiculous.
Okay, thanks, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Bill Johnson, 131 Fraser Avenue. I have a mundane issue to bring up. I'm not as excited.
We're starving for Monday.
So I have a question about the Collinswood master plan. So I went on the site and I saw that there was the historic element of that plan, but I didn't see the other one, which is like the community facilities element. Is that there anywhere?
Should all be in there. Yeah, if it's not, maybe they get uploaded.
Is it right direction if I can find it?
No, Keith Hastings is right there. It's undergoing a reevaluation right now, so every 10 years it gets reviewed, and there's a brief review getting done right now.
So I had an old plan, which was like 1999. Is that what
It's been, so master plans, every 10 years have to get what's called a reevaluation, okay? So sometimes that can be a brand, most of the time it involves a shorter kind of cliff note reevaluation of it that says, everything is still pretty good except for these things that were in the box, okay? So I think if you've got the Caribbean, is that who did I think that's the last full blown we did. The planners were right from Peter Caribbean.
Yeah, I think that's it, right. That's the one.
And then there would probably be 10 years or so later, there would be necessarily a planner, but like something where the planning board reviewed it and reevaluated it and said, you know what, it's still good.
So, and also for my recommendation, is that there's a historic element and there's also that facilities element. Are there any other elements?
Yeah, I think there are. I think there are some statutorily required elements, and then there's some elements that, depending on the planner you have, the planners like to put them in. So it can vary. But there's a statute, the municipal land use law, the master plan. I think there's a statute that goes through like the elements that you have to have. Okay. Sure. And it would have been updated, like, I don't want to say for sure, but I think there was like an affordable housing element that's required later, so affordable housing element that's required later, so I would think that our last reeval probably has, like, that's probably one I would expect was added. Yeah.
So are they all on the website or?
It should be, and if it's not, just kind of like, this is what we'd like to be when we grow up.
Well, I think also that 1999 plan also has kind of assessments of, physical properties too, right?
A borough-owned properties? Yeah, you could have a borough-owned
That's
property
kind of
as
good,
well.
kind of where you're at as far as.
Got it, the condition of buildings?
Condition of buildings.
Okay, all right. Any other mundane before I go around the room? No, go ahead, Michelle. Go kick everybody. Go ahead, Michelle. Just give me
Michelle Quigley, 733 Park Avenue. Probably not mundane, hello, yeah. There's a couple of things I'd like to, first I'd like to ask, do you and you both live in single family homes?
Yes.
And do you have duplexes on either side? No, they can be off the street at night? I don't pay attention.
Everybody in my neighborhood's off the street.
Okay,
They have space to get off the street.
all right.
Not saying they are, but they have space.
All right. I'm not quite sure where to start. I live in a large twin that has 3 bedrooms. My neighbor has 3 bedrooms. I'm curious about, can she rent out all 3 bedrooms at once and have maybe 6 people in each bedroom? And is that one rental? Or does she rents 1 bedroom 1 week and 1 bedroom the next week? So could she do 90 rentals, 90 days of rentals with her 3 bedrooms in each? According to what I'm reading.
That came up today, we believe the answer to that's no.
Okay, I don't think it's clear when you read this.
Okay.
Because there are units within rentals. So if 1 bedroom is a unit, then if you have 3 bedrooms, I would encourage them to do that. I don't think we all need to have to deal with people next door that we don't know, or a door of people next door. Commissioner Lewandowski, you said we can't predict records of growth over the past 2 years that we've been discussing this. It's come up $7 billion. Every town, except San Francisco, where they finally were able to bring them back in, it has grown year after year after year. What is this going to cost us? And how can you regulate? How can you figure out when your neighbor's done the 31st day? And also, I don't want to have to be regulating my neighbor, especially if I do the scenario that you suggested, Mayor Bailey, where he goes down the shore for 2 weeks and he leaves me with renters. What am I going to do? Am I going to make him come back up from the shore? Bad actors. Okay, those are bad actors. I live in a twin. Even if the people are the nicest people in the world, and they can stay up till 2 in the morning because they don't have to get up for work the next day and leave their TV loud, we're not getting the proper night's sleep. And then, when it's time for them to turn around and go home, they want to get up at 5 to get on the road, get back to their home. They're opening and closing doors, drawers, they're beeping their cars, and I'm still not getting a good night's sleep. These could be perfectly lovely people, like all the lovely people who think Airbnbs are great because they did it and they weren't a problem. But it's going to affect my quality of life. And I'll mention again, it's a complete reversal of this borough's policies for the last 20 or 30 years. We've encouraged single-family homes, we've encouraged long-term renters to put down roots in the community. We don't need a revolving door. of people coming through.
Okay, all right, thanks. Go around, Keith, did you wanna?
Yeah, I wanted to, Kate's Lady, 126 East Palmer. I wanted to ask when you go out to bid for professional service contracts. I know that they're approved in January, but I want to know when you get the bids for the 2020 contracts.
I don't think that we have been going out for bid, on professional service contracts. We haven't done formal bid process for 5 or 6 years, ever since we adopted the pay-to-play law. That limits, we haven't, it's state law requires it if you're going to accept campaign contributions over a certain number, okay? We have an ordinance in place here, a pay-to-play ordinance that says, that puts a hard limit on contributions. And because of that, we're not required under state law to bid them.
Right. Yeah, I looked at the pay-to-play ordinance here and a couple other towns, and I have some thoughts, but
I don't think anybody's got what we have.
Actually, I've looked at townships that are much more complicated.
300 per candidate? Yeah, per year? I don't think so.
In terms of time limits
A year?
and fines if violations, yeah. But like I said, I want to do more research before.
Okay.
I also wanted to ask one other thing that's pretty brief. I was looking at the, the 2019 budget, the general appropriations, and noticed, and I noticed that in there for the JIF and both of those.
Lot of charges. You'll find portions of different people's salaries spread out. So when, our administrator, for example, his salary, and I'm not sure that he's one was split, but generally, because we run a water utility and a sewer utility as well, there are portions of that overall charge that are charged off to those separate budgets.
So if it's $2 million for the three.
Yes, is what kind of what the borough premium would be, and then it's split based on, it'll be split based on how much is for the property insurance for the water plant. And for, it gets broken up like that. Yes, it gets split between them all. Okay? Anything else? That's it? Okay? Yeah.
Eric Reinhardt, 253. I asked at a commissioners meeting 2 months ago, the August meeting, about painting the lines on Woodlawn Terrace, Woodlawn Avenue, also town. Is the town done with painting these lines?
No.
It's been 2 months since I asked it. I contacted the chief, follow-up about a month ago to ask, and he said something about their just finishing up the school areas. It's been 2 months.
We're on it. It's not done. We're still working on it.
You still are painting?
It's a continuum. I mean, obviously, you can't do it during the cold weather, but the process never ends.
That's why I asked if you're done.
It's coming. We're not finished.
But I've been taken care of, and I don't see any progress, and I'm just wondering if there's a timeline.
Well, the chief is right there. You've talked to him
Well,
about
I emailed
what it
him a
is.
month ago, and I'm just bringing it up now because.
Okay. Yes.
Same question. Fern Avenue was repaved.
Yes.
Now, I need the curb, my curbing to be painted yellow. I don't know who does that.
Chief Carey.
Fern
Painting,
Avenue needs
there's
yellow
a
paint.
part of the
Yeah.
curb needs to be yellow. Talk to Chief Carey.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Yes,
I
Lou?
just want to follow up on the Airbnb conversation. I don't know if you had answers yet. Can you expand on how, what is the plan for trying?
They're the same issues that occur with long-term renters. Same issues, okay? And you're really talking about people acting, not acting legally, okay? So we deal with the same issues all the time, all right? So for this, enforcement will be within our fire department on the rent registration process. It fits most neatly in there. And we'll be working out exactly what the paperwork is. And we got a bunch of forms that we really like from Asbury Park, how they do this. Try to make it so it's online, so that it's put or an email, easy to do. But I don't expect it's going to be what I think a lot of your impression is, that we're going to have 500 Airbnbs running. I just don't see it. Our efforts safe, okay, and appropriate in the neighborhood. The limits that we're talking about here then we will fix this.
Let me just say, let me
That's all.
just say real
Oh,
quick.
no, don't let it.
No, let me just say
Not gonna
real
get an
quick.
argument about it.
We're owners now, we've been renters, and we've also been landlords. I think we're well-intentioned people, so I mean, no
We'll
matter
see.
what role we've been in, we try to do right by, by the people we rented to, so we wouldn't have problems, our neighbors wouldn't have problems. So I get that. I don't want people to think that there's bias, because we've been on all sides of that system. And from being in a condo, or just even the neighbor next door, you're right. I mean, you can't have a really owner. I think we've been really good renters when we've been renters. So it all comes down to individuals doing their due diligence, being well-intentioned as landlords for the short-term rentals.
If it's a problem with the system, we'll fix it. Go ahead.
Just a question, Debbie Carolfi, 427 Hammond. How do you know if your neighbor is actually, see, that's.
But when they choose to rent out their house for a year, they don't have to get your permission to know.
Oh,
But we know.
But I understand, but since there have been undercover, the neighbor.
Regulated now, okay? This now will require that if you are going to rent it out, all of that, okay? Number one. As you rent to people, you have to maintain a log, okay? Which we'll be able to check. We'll also be able to do enforcement in terms of finding the properties that are listed on Airbnb,
Well, there's what I.
okay?
It's
I mean,
not.
we can do that too.
Crime
There's-
happens and you don't know it's.
There's ways to regulate it, but the things that you're concerned as a property owner that you don't know about, people can rent their homes for a year or more, and you don't know the same things. The borough does, we do,
Understood.
and we regulate, okay? So it's not, that's why I just say it's like, I don't get it. Go ahead.
So you're going to be increasing the number of people who are coming through exponentially. And the point that the gentleman over here made, I've got a that's another reason I'm concerned. I've got a huge duplex next door to me that's owner occupied with 2 or 3 bedrooms on each floor. So the owner could live there and rent out 2 or 3 bedrooms at a time. For how long, I don't know, because that's also not clear to me in the ordinance, whether each bedroom is a unit or if all of them together are a unit.
We've told you that our interpretation of that ordinance is
But
that
it's not-
it's all, well, we think it is, okay. We disagree, we think it is.
With his long-term tenants, we have a relationship, and I know they're gonna be there a year. And if there's a problem where they're paying their music too loud or they're blocking my driveway, both of which has occurred with many tenants over the years, I can speak to them about it, and they know they're going to have to continue to pay with their landlord. When we start having people coming through the revolving door, so one week we have a good short-term renter that knows that this is my driveway, and the next week we have somebody who's turning up the music and blocks my driveway. You increase the number of people exponentially. You can't say it's the same thing as having a long-term tenant next door, because it's not.
Well, I can say it because the long-term tenant can have 3 guests every weekend. 3 different guests every weekend.
Let's be realistic.
This is a real, we'll try it, okay? Hey, you all right?
Yes.
Okay.
That was the other thing I wanted to do. That was the other point I wanted to make. You guys can be ahead of the curve here, because everything you read online about communities that have tried to work with Airbnb and other short-term rentals, now they're trying to rein it back in. They're trying to get the toothpaste back in the tube, the genie back in the bottle. Yeah, they want to do that, but in the meantime, a lot of their residents have actually become dependent on the money. They want the money, they like the money. You can just say no. That way we don't have to worry about the fire department counting how many VRBO. We're paying for it.
There could be bad liability when you're there long term. When you're there short term, you're there for the night, you have your party. You're there
But
for the
the
weekend.
accountability is with the owner of the property.
The owner cares, and then.
We pull it.
Ratings
But
and
if
then.
the owner has control over it, they get cited.
Doesn't matter.
In the meantime,
You can pull it.
In the meantime, the lady who lives next door, the gentleman who lives next door suffers for 1 weekend, 2 weekends, 3 weekends.
Let's see how this goes. All these horrors are not what the neighbors' complaints were that brought this about. Just so you know, okay?
But
That's-
they were complaints that brought this whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, like
That's exactly what brought.
parking in front of my house all the time, like, yeah,
But they were,
I get it.
longer term rentals.
Yeah, they were, yeah, and all the other ordinances, no ordinances got like 30 days, none that we've seen. We're so low, most of them are 180 days. Right, most ordinances to regulate this are 180 days, we're doing 30. Yes.
I have mundane question, comment, and unrelated question. Comment first, speaking of all the painting, I love the green on the crosswalks. I love the green on the crosswalks, thank you.
That's intended as a safe space, right, just so everybody knows,
It's not
let's
rough.
encourage you to
It's
walk
not
out,
rough.
be there,
Yeah, it's
give
great.
everybody a
It's-
chance to see that you're
works
there.
as an interaction down, even with funware, you
Yeah.
can see people, it's great, good job. Unrelated question, Rob mentioned leaf collection is starting, so on a street like East Collins, where you park on one side and that's where the trees are, you can rake to the curb strip, but no one collects it because the cars are all there. Is there a way to address that? Because it then gets wet and it turns.
How do we
into
do that?
slime.
I can tell you, and we don't do it, but in Cherry Hill, I noticed that they put a big sign that keeps moving block to block and says, nobody can park here tonight, leaf collection's coming.
Right.
Because they only come once,
Right.
but ours become so much that they tend to get it eventually, but maybe we can have a moving sign.
Right.
I was trying to think about
I
that
think
as a little
on my
street.
street, it might actually work just to have it parked on the other side for
Right.
the day,
The
because
park
the other
lot.
side has less trees. But it just becomes sludge and slippery, and then it gets snowed on and it's a mess. So, it might be a way to-
There's certain
I'll give you
streets.
a lead, but maybe there's an interim amount of time.
Even outside.
Okay.
In the season, get all them up.
Yeah.
He's writing, I see him.
You gotta-
I have one
Yes,
question.
I can tell you to where to find those signs.
Okay, one short-term rental question. With this ordinance as drafted, is either a 365-day rental or no more than 14 consecutive nights.
And no more than 30 days total.
Right, so no 3-month lease, no,
Right.
I bought a house, I'm not ready for another month or two. So
Right.
it is 1 year or 2 weeks. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, okay.
Moreno Down, 215 Lakeview Drive. Really against this. I also think that, talking of short-term rental, long-term rentals, and even neighbors that own their house, over the years, I've lived here 31 years, and the town has repeatedly failed me in all those areas. Similar to having neighbors, we have one house that's been rented, I've been there 31 years. And up until this year, we never had good tenants that didn't do something that was either loud or parking or fighting with each other or everything. Except this year, and they were all raccoons. And that house has been better, but the raccoons, they're banned, and it's getting really bad. So I'm really worried about you regulating something when you can't really, I mean, it took us months to get the 14 bird feeders, that were positioned next to our property, to get them moved. So I just don't have the faith that this is going to be monitored. The fire pit next to the wooden fence, I mean, there's all these things that have happened, and I just don't think, and again, the question of do I want, I know you don't only get a fourth of my taxes, but do I want that going towards this regulation? I was a single mom, I did raise a kid on my own, I paid my mortgage, I know how hard it is. But there are other jobs, there are other ways to make money, and I don't think your neighbors should have to deal with this. I just don't.
Okay. And listen, on the one issue, about the trouble, like, we changed the law for the one issue that you mentioned.
Yes.
We changed, okay, so for us not responding, okay, we changed the law for the issue that you raised.
That's true.
So, with all due respect, like, just like we went over with That's Amore tonight, okay? Like, it don't happen quick, I'll give you that, it don't happen quick. It's a whole process of, if there's a systemic problem, if there's a problem with this, we will change this, okay? Just like we have there was a problem way back when with the condition of rental properties. We adopted ordinances that dealt with that. Some people weren't happy with that, okay? We adopted laws about that, and we changed that, okay? So, you gotta, you know,
I do thank you for the.
I know, but it's something different, I get that, this is like Bill said, it's something that fell out of the sky on us, like, this is, you know, this is all new to us. We're gonna try to regulate it, because right now on the books, we don't think we have any effective regulation. And I don't think from a legal perspective, we can say, you can only rent a year or more, and you can't rent less than a year at all, period, no. I think that's something that's like, just, it's limiting the use rather than, so we'll see. We'll see. Let me bounce around. We're gonna wrap up. We're not gonna change our minds. Go ahead.
Been a lot of talk. I haven't read pencil thing, so I don't know it intimately, this Airbnb thing. Maybe I'm missing something. What is the upside for Collingswood?
The upside for Collingswood is that some of our residents will be able to make a couple bucks. It provides, listen, but that goes both ways, because if it's only a few people, it's not gonna have these horrible impacts, okay? It goes both ways.
You don't know it's only these few people. That's supposition.
What's that?
That's supposition.
No.
I'm an engineer, and supposition doesn't work.
Airbnb, that's not supposition.
Not in Collingswood, there's not. We have it in Collingswood.
Every other place in the world.
Okay. Yes. Beth.
Beth Ernst, Homestead Avenue. Just a procedural question. This amends the rental property ordinance,
Yes.
and it lays out a process by which people register the properties with the borough clerk, I think. But that's not how it's done now. It's, now it's done, you've outsourced it to the Pennsauken Fire Department.
I think that's been changed. Like,
No,
right, the
no,
clerk, did we
no.
change the borough clerk in the last version?
I think it's clerk or designate.
The clerk or designate, so then the clerk just has the fire department, doesn't it?
Well,
It's clerk or designate. So it'll just
but
say,
right now, the Pennsauken Fire Department
yes,
does the inspections.
yes.
For Collingswood.
We do it, no, go ahead, we do it jointly. Go ahead, what are you talking?
It's Collingswood employees doing the inspections in the office. We just have a shared service for this.
Shared service, right.
For the
It's not them doing it, we don't outsource it.
The shared service is the paperwork, okay? But it's our employees that do the inspections.
The guy that comes to my duplex is from Pennsauken. So my question for you.
He's not. He's not.
You say no.
Or
But,
we have
okay.
inspectors that are not-
Sure, can be.
But no,
But
my
okay, we have a
question-
shared service, yeah, what's your
My
question?
question was, do you intend to change the process? Because what's laid out in the ordinance, both the existing ordinance and the revision, does not reflect how it works right now, regardless of who the person is who comes to your house.
Because all it is that, no, we're not changing the process, it's staying the way it is.
Okay.
And it's the borough clerk or designate, and the borough clerk designates the shared service fire departments of Pennsauken and Collingswood.
Okay, well, that was my question. Do you intend to change the process? The
Nope.
answer is no.
Nope.
And so my suggestion is that you might want to change the ordinance to reflect the process as it is now, because it doesn't quite match.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you all for coming out, and for that discussion.
Joe?
Yeah.